to Charlottesville This Week. I'm your host, Melissa Neeley. This week I'm speaking with Rivanna Water and Sewer Authority Executive Director Tom Frederick. Recently, the Department of Environmental Quality ordered the RWSA to decide by December 31st how it will replace the Rivanna pump station so it can pump up to 53 million gallons per day in the event of heavy storms. Right now, there are several options on the table of how they will go about that, and here today to discuss that with me is Mr. Frederick. Tell us, why is it that we need to replace this Rivanna pump station?
We need a larger pump station in order to be able to handle the peak flows that come through the sewer transmission system during large wet weather events like rain and storms like we've had earlier this week. Preparing a sewer system to handle these kinds of flows is a challenge throughout the country, and cities all over are at various stages of addressing this. When it rains, unfortunately, sewer systems are not watertight, so some water gets into the system. It increases the flow for several hours, and then the flow comes back down to normal. But in order to have a strong system that can meet the environmental needs of its community by capturing all those additional flows and holding them within its transmission system, it needs a system large enough to carry that flow. And right now, we don't have a system that is capable of carrying the flows from large rain events.
Now, it's my understanding that the one that's looking at replacing the current system will hold up to 53 million gallons per day. Is that correct?
The Rivanna interceptor pipeline is what we call it. It's the large 60-inch diameter pipeline that runs along the west shore of the Rivanna River from the Meadow Creek Golf Course to the Woolen Mills area. Is capable of holding a rate equivalent to 53 million gallons per day. But the pump station at the end of that line that pumps the flow into the wastewater treatment plant is only capable of pumping 25 million gallons a day rate. Oh. So there's a bottleneck where the pump station is, and by enlarging that pump station to handle all the flow that can come down that pipeline, we can then convey all of that wastewater safely and effectively to the wastewater treatment plant where it can be properly treated.
Now, tell us about some of the options that are being discussed as far as what we can do to solve this problem.
Okay, we hired a very good consultant who has done this many times before. We asked them to look at all the readily available desktop-type information, maps, drawings, and determine what are feasible and reasonable options for enlarging our pumping capacity needs. And after doing that, after looking at where the floodplain and floodways are, after looking at topography to see where critical slopes are, after looking at environmentally sensitive issues where there might be wetlands, cultural resources, a number of other things, they identified 4 possible concepts that could provide the needs of our system.
And can you explain what those 4 are?
Yes.
Briefly, not...
Yes. Concept A, we call them A, B, C, and D. Concept A is enlarging the pump station where it exists today, which is at the entrance to Riverside Park, or Riverview Park, and is adjacent to the Woolen Mills neighborhood. Concept B goes back up into Riverview Park to another location that unfortunately also is adjacent to a neighborhood, and places it further north toward, not all the way to, but toward Free Bridge. Option C goes the other way. It goes south under a railroad track under the old Woolen Mills and ends up on property owned by the Rivanna Water and Sewer Authority where an old compost yard was located that's now closed. Option D would go across the Rivanna River from where the existing pump station is and place the pump station somewhere close to the State Farm property or on the State Farm property.
And so obviously negotiations are going on with county and city officials about which option to choose. Now I know that there's another option possibly on the table called Option E. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, we had some meetings with citizen groups and encouraged participation in this discussion, and during one of those discussions an idea came up of boring a long tunnel from where the existing pump station is located to a point on the wastewater treatment plant site. It would end up being 2,000 feet of tunnel, which is over a third of a mile. We asked our consultant to take a very quick look at it, and they came back and said they couldn't put a price tag on it without some geotechnical investigations, which means long boring underground through rock to capture what the geology is at the depth where the bore would take place. But they indicated that it was too early to rule it out as well. So that option has been added to the table and is now currently among those options being discussed.
And it's time for a break. I'm your host, Melissa Neeley. I'll be back continuing my conversation with RWSA Executive Director Tom Frederick about the pump station options. Stay with us.
Who can say